a few things that I want to talk about today. Basically, is separating the game into different categories of analysis. So I want to talk about the fans. I want to talk about the coaches. I want to talk about the teams themselves, the players themselves, and we'll talk about keys to victory, my prediction at the end. So let's start off with the fans, because I've been, I'm on the internet seeing what people think about this. So a lot of the fans, Real Madrid and Barcelona, they kind of have a different view on how this game is going to go. Let's talk about the Real Madrid fans. Real Madrid, honestly, I've been seeing a lot of split opinions. There are people that think that, Real Madrid can win this and they will win this. And then there's the others that think, I think Barcelona is at a different level than Real Madrid, and I don't think this game will be one that we win. That's what Real Madrid fans are speaking like. On the other side, Barcelona fans are a lot more with hints of arrogance, let's just say. So most Barcelona fans are confident of winning, but some of them are so confident that they think that Barcelona's going to dominate this game. You're talking about 4-0s, 5-0s. People are talking about the same scores as all the Clásicos from last year. But if we really pay attention to the last game that was played between the two, Real Madrid took it 2-1, playing in a way that if they want to win this game tomorrow, they're going to have to play like that. It's defensive, it's managing the game, and it's going to be also a little bit of luck. It's going to take a little bit of luck. So that's what the fans think. Now, me, myself, I think, and I'm a Barcelona fan, but I'm not here talking about Barcelona's going to dominate tomorrow. I think we have to not underestimate Real Madrid or Xabi Alonso. He has important players. He knows how to set them up. He's won important games already. He's also lost some important games. I think what they did versus Atleti shows you what they might try to do against Barcelona, where they might not want to be the protagonists. They might not want to be the team holding the ball, but they'll know how to manage those times, those moments of the game, and take advantage of the moments where they have the ball, on breaks, on set pieces, things like that. Another thing, besides having explosive players, I think Real Madrid as a team is more desperate to show a better image than last season. So I think that's like an added motivation. And then lastly, I think Xabi is just tactically, he's a little bit better than Ancelotti. I'm not saying he's a better coach, because no one has won the things that Ancelotti has won. I just think Ancelotti's tactics, or his way of managing teams, for this team against this Barcelona, it wasn't really cohesive. I think with Xabi, they're kind of understanding a way to play where, he can be a little bit more obsessive with holding the ball, with wanting to high press. Even if the team works well in a low defensive block, they work well doing set pieces, they work well counterattacking. I think Xabi will also want to try to have the protagonism of the game. So I think that's what I think. Now let's talk a little bit more about the coaches. Let's talk a little bit about Xabi Alonso. What he's going to gain, what he's going to lose out of this if he loses. It's a lot of things. So in terms of gaining things, I think he'll gain some sort of redemption for what his image has been as of late in the locker room. Not so much trust from the outside, not so much trust from the president, maybe not so much trust from the players. I think if he wins this game and he wins this trophy, he will be redeemed of some of that loss of confidence from everybody around. Let's remember that in the beginning of the season, everybody was on the ship. They were on Xabi Alonso's ship, and they're like, yep, were riding this to victory and they were looking good. And then all of a sudden, a few games where they just started losing momentum and the belief went away. So I think this will redeem him if he wins it. It'll also give him a lot of time. It'll give him more time for the president not to sack him. It'll give him more time for the players to work on being better in the system that he wants to have on this team. It'll give him more belief from the players and more support from not only the players, but the president and from the fans. I think a win in this tournament, a trophy against Barcelona, something that they had lost in a really, really bad fashion last season. It'll be his second Clasico to win it. So I think it'll boost all the belief and support and all the morale around him, from the people around him towards him. And it'll give him credit. It'll give him credit for once again beating a team that I think, maybe not player for player, but system-wise and the way they play, I think is a team that's inferior to Barcelona. That they will be beating a team that is, superior to them, I believe. But yeah, he will receive that credit. Now, if he loses, what does he lose in that sense? Depending on the performance, because if Barcelona destroys Real Madrid, like if we're talking about what people think, 4-0, 5-0, or 5-2 like last season, I think it'll be a lot harder to defend Xavi. But if it's like a marginal victory, a 1-0, or loss in penalties, then maybe he'll stick around. It's the same thing that happened with City, because a lot of people thought that Real Madrid was going to be destroyed by Manchester City in the Champions League. And they ended up not losing by so much. It was a 2-1 victory, right, for City. And he ended up keeping his spot, keeping the trust of the board, of the president. So it just depends on that. But if we're talking about, all in between, whether it's a bad result or a not so bad result, he can stand to lose his job, obviously. His credibility from the outside people, from fans, from journalists, from the president, the locker room, and he'll probably lose his backing and the confidence that he has in his team and he has in his abilities to coach this team. Let's not forget, man, Xabi Alonso is a great coach. What he did in Leverkusen is unheard of, and it's nothing to underestimate. But maybe he's not the guy for this Real Madrid team, which we've seen that the best coach possibly in history, Ancelotti, or one of them, wasn't able to lead this team, these set of players, including all the new guys, to any victories last season. So maybe he's not the guy for the job, and that doesn't speak less of him. Now, how can Xabi lead this team to victory? Tactically, he can lead it where the game needs to be for Madrid to win it, which is if he needs to be defensive, play a low block, close out the circuits, close out the lanes for Barcelona that needs space to play. They can play in tight spaces, but it's a lot harder for them. And especially against the quality that Real Madrid has, maybe playing a low defensive block might be the key to Real Madrid's victory. In times where they have the opportunity, can they hold possession? Set pieces. Can they take advantage of set pieces, which we've seen? Corner kicks, free kicks, penalties. Can they make those? And the composure that maybe if they're down or if the game is still really tight, that they can hold on, they can keep believing, and they can find ways to close out the game if they're up, stuff like that. That's the key to Xabi Alonso leading them to victory. Now, we got to talk about Hansi. What does Hansi gain out of this? Another title. Let's be real. It's not. There's not much to gain from a Supercup victory for a team that has been doing things well. However, there have been doubtful moments in this season, especially against important teams. I think the most important team that Barcelona has beaten this season has been Atletico de Madrid. Besides that, they've lost against Chelsea, they lost against PSG, they lost against Real Madrid, and they've dropped points against a number of a little bit better teams. Maybe, if you want, you can add the Newcastle game to important games they've won. I think that was a huge win. But besides that, they haven't beaten Real Madrid. They lost to Real Madrid. So aside from it being another title, there will be more confidence that, okay, maybe the next time with this team, because remember, Barcelona was missing key players, and the most key player was Joan Garcia, and the most key player was Rafinha. Without those two players, Barcelona were a different team. So with those guys, if they're able to win, they can get more confidence, a happier locker room, and more authority from Hansi, who says always, he's like, it's not about egos, it's not about one player, it's about the team, and it's about following the tactics, it's about being disciplined, it's about hard work, it's about the intensity. So if they win, he can, again, show, the way we win things is like this. It's the only way we'll win. If not, we're not going to win. If we don't do everything perfect the way we need to do it, we're not going to win. And that leads me to the next thing. What can they lose? And I think it's that. I don't think if Barcelona loses this game, it'll be as bad as if Real Madrid loses this game. I think Real Madrid losing this game will be a lot worse for them. If Barcelona loses this game, I think it will give more power to Hansi Flick. He will have more of a reason to say, hey, we do things a certain way and we win. And if we don't do them in that certain way, we're going to lose. It'll give him more of a reason to be on top of his players. And it'll make his team hungrier. It'll make his team stronger. So I think probably in the only situation that losing would be a good thing would be in that situation where Barcelona loses and they say, you know what, bro, like, we're going to come out of this even better and even stronger and even more focused, more locked in. So I think even if they lose, Hansi Flick doesn't lose much. I think he gains something out of it. And how can Hansi Flick lead his team to victory? I think with the right lineup and the right energy in the game, focus on his defensive line, the intensity on the press, and the right movements in the bench in those later stage of the game where, if you saw against Atleti, Real Madrid ended that game with 0 center backs. They ended with Valverde, a midfielder at right back, Carreras, a left back at center back, Tchouaméni, a center mid at center back, and I think it was Ferland Mendy, a left back, right? So out of those 4 players, only 1 player was playing in their position. And then on top of that, added 1 more left back, Fran Garcia, who ended as a left mid. So he had ended the game with 3 left backs and 2 center mids on his, if you were talking about a defensive line, a 5-player defensive line. And that's crazy. So in those moments of the game, if Real Madrid has to do that, that's where Hansi Flick might be able to move pieces and say, at this moment, I'm going to put these guys and exploit this. And I think that's the key. That's Hansi Flick's key to victory. Now let's talk about the players, or the locker room in general, the team in general, the whole team. What does Real Madrid, the players, gain? Obviously, they're going to gain a confidence boost if they win. However, is this a good confidence? Because we've seen a lot of times, especially in this season, that confidence in Real Madrid locker room can turn into arrogance. And that's what Real Madrid has to be careful with. Because when they beat Barcelona, they celebrated as if they had won the title. And now we're seeing them, and there's 4 points behind Barcelona in the league. Everybody's touting Barcelona as the heavy favorite. So that what was that confidence? And what does it mean now in a time where they cannot afford to lose anything anymore? Now, what do they lose, Real Madrid? They'll lose morale, for sure. If they lose against Barcelona, another trophy, these would have been a waste of 2 games of energy, of flying Mbappe and risking them after an injury, of getting players injured because Rudiger got injured in the last game. I don't know if Asensio got injured as well. So they'll lose that morale. Will they lose their unity in the locker room? There's already been kind of like a little bit of rumble in there that there's players that maybe are threatened by other players. There are players that are unhappy or have lost patience with certain players. There are players who are fighting for positions and they're not doing it in a healthy way. They're doing it more in an unhealthy way. So will Real Madrid lose their unity in the locker room? It's very possible if they lose. And ultimately, they can lose their coach, which maybe to a lot of people, losing your coach is a good thing. So, it could, because losing your coach maybe not a good thing, but gaining a new coach, maybe somebody who can get them out of this situation. So that's what they can lose. Now, how can Real Madrid win? How could the players lead this team to victory? Scoring early and defending. That's what they did against Atleti, and it worked. And it was a way of winning that pretty much conditioned the game. And I think that's how they won the last game. I'm going to check in a little bit, but I think that's how they won the last game against Barcelona. Scoring early and then just holding, defending, and making the best out of their set pieces. And obviously, Mbappe and Vinny Jr. on the counterattack against this high line that sometimes is not organized. That could be a huge key to victory. Now, how can they lose? I think they ended the game against Atleti really tired. So maybe their stamina, maybe their form, their tactical discipline can lose them the game. There were moments in the game where Vinny stopped defending, and I think Sorloth's goal comes from the drop of his mark, because I think his mark was supposed to be Llorente, or maybe Simeone dropped his mark, and that's where the cross comes from. So tactical discipline, definitely. The substitutions, like we were just talking about. If Xavi plans on playing with no natural center backs and 3 left backs to end the game, that can maybe end up losing the game. So, but if we're talking about the team, the substitutes themselves, maybe they can lose the game, because I think off the bench, even though Real Madrid might have a little bit more depth in certain places, when it comes to their defense, they don't have that much depth. And I think Barcelona in that case has not as much depth, but the pieces that they can put in are just as good, if not better, than what's on the field. So that's the huge difference. And then quality in the midfield. Let's be real. Barcelona's midfield are among the best just because of one player, Pedri. And then you add to that Frankie de Jong, who's really good, Dani Olmo or Fermin Lopez, Eric Garcia. And I think overall you have a better midfield than Tchouaméni and Camavinga, because depending on what Jude's job is going to be, is he going to be a cam, or is he going to be a center mid? Is he going to be a false 9, or is he going to be a right mid? We don't know, or left mid rather. So we don't know where Jude's going to be. So if we're talking about a 3v2, and with the quality that Barcelona has, I think that's where Real Madrid will lose the game, in the midfield. Now let's talk about Barcelona. What do they gain? I think by winning, these players gain a huge confidence boost. It won't be arrogance in that locker room. It'll be, okay, we beat Real Madrid, we have our players back, and we're ready. We can do this. So momentum as well, a momentum boost, belief in the system, belief in the project, and belief in what this season can hold. We beat Real Madrid after a slew of bad results against top teams, and now we're back. So definitely that could be a huge game. Now, what do they lose? I think this is a little bit more subtle. They'll lose a Clasico, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, could be a big thing, could be a small thing. But a Clasico is a Clasico, and I think Barcelona takes Clásicos a lot more seriously than Real Madrid. A lot of times, Barcelona are faulted for it because they, instead of wanting to win big trophies, they just want to beat Real Madrid. A lot of people say that, but it's true. Barcelona likes beating Real Madrid because Real Madrid is the symbol of power, and when Barcelona defeats them, it makes it feel like an underdog victory, even though sometimes Barcelona are not the underdog and Real Madrid is the underdog. But because of this image that they hold in the football world, in the sporting world, when Barcelona wins a Clásico, it's great, and when they lose a Clásico, it's not so great. They gain a trophy. I mean, they lose a trophy. Basically, they're going to give away a trophy to Real Madrid, and it's one less title that they'll have in the season if they lose. And then I think what the team will lose most importantly is their image as favorites for important titles this season, for the Champions League, for La Liga, for Copa del Rey. I think if they lose, there won't be people talking about Barcelona the way they were talking about them last year, when they were destroying Real Madrid, when they beat Bayern Munich, when they beat important teams in the Champions League, the defending finalists, Borussia Dortmund, and the list goes on. I think that image will be a little bit tarnished, but it's not a big deal because I don't think it will affect the players, the way they play, the way they carry themselves. It'll just be more about how the outside looks at this group of players. How can they win? Keeping the ball, obviously. The name of the game, Barcelona's name of the game is possession. And exploiting, hopefully, a badly organized Madrid. Tactically, attackers that don't come down to defend, players that are not in their position, aka Valverde and right back, that can probably be a key for them winning. Scoring more than they concede. Barcelona a lot of times concedes a lot of goals, but a lot of times last year, every time they would get scored on, they would score just as much, and if not more. It happened in the Inter Milan series that they lost. It was a 3-3 and then a 4-3. They lost in the 4-3, but they were there with them. The Benfica game was crazy. I think it was like a 5-4. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Real Madrid, the last game of the season, Real Madrid started off winning 2-0, and Barcelona flips it. And they win it. They start winning 4-2. And then Real Madrid gets their third goal. Mbappe hat-trick, 4-3. But it's just about scoring more than you're scored on. Now, it's a little bit harder to score on. And that's why another key of how they can win is Joan Garcia. Joan Garcia is, I think, 3 or 4 games in a row with clean sheets. So can Joan Garcia get a clean sheet against Barcelona? Against Real Madrid. Against Real Madrid last year, they had the 4-0. And then it was the 5-2, it was the 4-0, the 5-2, the 4-3, and the 3-2. So they had, in those 4 Clásicos, they only had 1 clean sheet. Can Joan Garcia, who didn't play the first Clásico, can he keep a clean sheet against Real Madrid? That could be a huge key. And then a focus on defensive tactics. Can the defensive line play the high line, the offside trap that Hansi Flick wants? Can they play it to a perfection? So those are huge ways of how they can win. Now, how can they lose? The opposite of it. The bad timing on defense. Not pressuring the way they should. In terms of how they pressure, but also in terms of energy. What if they go out there with not the best level of energy? They can lose a game when it comes to just that detail. And then obviously silly fouls. Can we try not to foul inside the box and give Real Madrid a penalty like we've done in a lot of games? Can we not give them the free kick that Atleti gave them in their semifinal? Can we not concede corner kicks so much? Can we keep them away from the attacking third? And that way we don't concede corners and we don't have to deal with that. That would be the key to how they lose. So if we can avoid all that, I don't think Barcelona loses. So let's talk about key players. The key players to victory. In Real Madrid, it's going to be Mbappe, for sure. Mbappe playing already gives you just a million more points in favor. Because he's explosive, because he's technical, because he's a hungry, monster, competitive animal, and Mbappe is just unstoppable. Mbappe is unstoppable no matter what. Even when Real Madrid loses against Barcelona, Mbappe is always the most important part of that team and the most dangerous part of that team. And then you can add to that Vinicius Jr., which, that's fine. He's been having a bad season. That's fine. He's been having a bad past 2 seasons. He's not the same player he was, but he's still the same person. It's still him. And it could be one game to another where everything changes. Who knows? Courtois is a huge part of Real Madrid, of how they win games, because it could be that Real Madrid could be playing a terrible game, but as long as Courtois has 3 game-winning saves, and it's a win for them. And they've won so many times this season like that. And then lastly, I would say Carreras. Why? It's not that he's an important player on the attack. It's more about his defensive role and his job, which is guard Lamine Yamal. He did it in the first Clasico. He did it when he was in Benfica. It's a huge reason why Real Madrid contracted him. So can Carreras also, like I said in the last video, can he pocket Lamine Yamal this time? And that could be a huge key. When it comes to Barcelona, the key to victory is not a player. It's Hansi Flick. Can he set up the right lineup? Can he adjust the lineup? Can he give the players the tactics that they need to go and win this game? Joan Garcia, like we already talked about. And then obviously Rafinha on the left, Lamine Yamal on the right, and Ferran Torres. Can those 3 players do their job on the attack? Because in the end, although Real Madrid might be a more defensive team, and the key to the victory, although it could be their attackers, but it is their defense. When it comes to Barcelona, it's never their defense. Their key to victory is how many goals can they score, and that's where the goals come from. Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, Ferran Torres, and whoever plays in the middle. My prediction for the game, before we go and look at other things, is that Barcelona will win 2-1. It'll be a 1-goal margin, and Barcelona will take it. I think that's a safe bet. Now, let's go to FOTMob really quick, just to look at a few things. What's the lineup going to be? This is a predicted lineup according to FOTMob. And this was a surprise to me right here. Joan Garcia, cool. Balde, Condé, cool. Eric Garcia, Cubarsí, as I thought, although I think they might switch spots. Eric will play on the left, Cuba on the right. Pedri, Frankie de Jong, they also shift because Pedri likes to play near Rafinha and de Jong likes to play near Condé and Lamine Yamal. This is the surprise right here because I thought maybe Fermin Lopez might play here. With that being said, Fermin Lopez off the bench is huge. So if he does come out with this lineup, this would be super cool because you have Fermin towards the second half to be an explosive player to change things. And then Ferran, this I expected. So more or less out of all of this, the only surprise I would have is Olmo, but it wouldn't be that much of a surprise. On the other side, Courtois, Carreras, Valverde. Asensio apparently is not injured if they're predicting him to start, but Rudiger did leave injured and they're expecting Hausen to take his place. So we're looking at 3 Spanish defenders and Valverde on the right back, which is not a right back, but he's got to play there because I don't think Carvajal can play. Although he came out in the press conference, he did come out as the captain of Real Madrid rather than the starting right back. And then in the middle, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, that's not going to change. Rodrigo, Bellingham, and Vinicius. And instead of Gonzalo, Kylian Mbappe. This is most likely how they're going to come out because if Mbappe flew to Saudi Arabia, it's because he's going to start. Just goes to show that an injury that could have been a whole month, it was only a week. And there are some theories. So let's talk about the theories. This is my theory. Real Madrid had to go against Atleti. If they lost, they could have said it was because Mbappe was not there. They could have saved Mbappe from having to risk himself. But now that there's a final to be played, that is where Mbappe will be. Another theory that I have is maybe he wasn't injured all along. Maybe they wanted to have him not be on the thoughts of the Barcelona squad, and ultimately he was always going to play. Or maybe it's a combination of the two, and I wouldn't put it past them to try to play some mind games, but also have an excuse if they lose, not risk them. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think Mbappe is fully fit, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think he still will have a perfect game tomorrow. The other thing I wanted to see, these are players that won't play. So, see, Rudiger is doubtful. Mendy is doubtful, although he finished last game, so I don't know. Militao, obviously, and Brahim is 5 goals in 4 or 5 games in the AFCON. So that's amazing. He's going to come back with a different energy. That's going to be interesting to see how Brahim Diaz comes back to Real Madrid. Araujo's not playing like I thought. He's been training, but he's not going to play because it's a final and he hasn't trained in a month. Andreas is injured. Gavi's injured. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to look at was the head-to-head. In this tournament, the head-to-head, the only thing we're going to look at is these past 4 because these were the only Super Cups that were played in this format. The previous format for the Super Cup was 1 home game, 1 away game in Spain. And then out of that, the aggregate, and you win. So that's how these Super Cups were determined. I guess they were not played in 13 to 16, although I don't know. That's weird. I don't know why they don't have those results. But the Saudi Arabian experiment, the one where they go and they play a 4-team semifinal and final tournament style thing, that's only 4 editions old, or 5 in this case. So let's look at the previous results. And this was interesting. I think ESPN said this, but the winner of the league never wins the Super Cup the year after that. So, for example, in 2021, Atlético de Madrid won. Real Madrid wins the Super Cup. Let's look at how that was really quick. Okay, so Atleti lost to Bilbao, and they went to the final. Barca lost to Real Madrid, and they went to the final. So, if we're talking about Clásicos, Real Madrid beat Barcelona in the semifinals, so that's 1 win. In Clásicos, that's 1 win for Real Madrid. Let's go back, which is here, 3-2, yeah. So 1 win for Real Madrid. That year, Real Madrid wins the league, 2022. Real Madrid wins the league. Barcelona wins the Super Cup, 3-1. That year, Barcelona wins the league with Xavi. Real Madrid the next year wins the Super Cup. And this year, Real Madrid wins the league, and the next year, Barcelona wins the Super Cup. This year, Barcelona wins the league. So everything is saying that Real Madrid will win the Super Cup if we're talking about patterns. Also, we're looking at Real, Barca, Real, Barca. The next one would be, obviously, Real, if we're following patterns. But these patterns, these statistics are meant to be broken. So that gives hope to any Barcelona fan. Although, very easily, I think Real Madrid can win this game. I have the prediction, Barca narrowly. But in my last preview video, I had Real Madrid narrowly. So it just depends. And yeah, that's all I wanted to look at. Guys, leave your comments. Give me a like, whatever, subscribe if you like this stuff, and I'll catch you in the post game where we will talk about what happened in this game. And hopefully I'll have a cool head to really analyze this. Hopefully I'll be very happy because Barcelona wins. But if Real Madrid wins, all bias aside, and if we're looking at just being a football fan, I think it would be excellent because if there's anything that I love in sports, it's an underdog. So, being that Real Madrid is technically underdog, this is it, dude. This could be it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.